So we are doing the air suspension by AirLift 3P management system with the Paragon suspension. We're in the car so that we could compare the differences. Right now, the car sits up pretty high and has a bad shock. Passenger side rear, it is out. According to Ruben, he feels it. And we want to feel what rebound is like, and obviously handling going back and forth. And if you did not know already, my name is Bailey and this is Ruben. And in this channel we do a lot of car things. We rebuilt a whole Audi A7 which was recently, and we have a lot of M4 content, and we're about to be doing a lot to this 370Z. A little update, the M4 is still in the garage. I've been working on it. I put it together, I'm going to drive it today. The compression is actually really good and boost leaks are 0. We tested up to 27 PSI. This is a cold start on a straight pipes BMW M4. So we have the bagged M4, and now it's time to bag this car. I'm gonna walk you through really quick of exactly how we did the bags on the 370Z, and then I wanna get back in it and drive it and do a little bit of a comparison. I don't think this car is gonna be all that hard. It shouldn't require any specialty tools. And well, he's watched a video or two. I told him I don't need to watch a video, I'm gonna just commit. It's like doing a puzzle. That's the point of cars. It's fun. It's like going to Walmart, picking up a puzzle, sitting down at a table, putting it together. Same thing, it's just a puzzle. I don't know why people don't understand the concept of that. The suspension that we went with is the Paragon suspension. This is the rear, this is the front. It is a new company that has recently launched. If you're going to buy suspension and go with Paragon, make sure you use Rube_Cube_100. So the front suspension is at about 26 3/4. And the back is about exactly 27 off the ground. So now we have something to compare to. But again, this is air suspension, so it won't be a fair battle. It should lower it a lot, but our ride height is what I'm going to compare. Okay, bear with me. So first thing we want to do if we're doing any suspension on any cars, obviously jack it up, get some jack stands underneath it, take the wheels off. And in the process of installing this air suspension, I'm going to just run you through it pretty quick. Nothing in details because every car is a little bit different. Batteries up front on this car, so we do have to run a lot of wires through the car. And here's the box. So the box has the controller, the management system, and the wiring harness, the owner's manual, and obviously the owner's manual's instructions. And the instructions are actually really easy on this system. I do appreciate how AirLift lays it out step by step by step with photos. And on the very back of this book, there is a diagram that shows what goes to the battery, what line goes to slot 2, and it's a diagram that shows it all. Now, I like throwing everything, so I'm just throwing stuff out of this car that I know won't go back in. And
it just looks so different.
I like to test my limits, obviously. Yep, he didn't really care. And then, so, take the spare tire out. I'm going to throw that out, too, of course. All the tabs on the Z's are really easy. They don't seem to break, and you don't really need a specialty tool to get those. We start pulling off the panels. You have to do the back one first, and then the side ones. And again, this is because this is where the management system will go and the compressor, and I need to run all the wires through the sides. And here's Ruben.
Okay, as y'all notice, I cut my hair. I need to get another haircut right now, but as y'all guys can see, we took everything out, even the spare tire. Everything is right here. Right now, Bailey's teaching me exactly where everything's gonna be at. This right here, Nissan, y'all need to do a little better job. It's like a tab, kind of. So we'll see.
Ruben, that was the back side of a stud, but here I am, obviously just trying to run the wires. Again, I laid it out, I looked at the diagram, I know where everything goes, what goes to the battery. So this is me tucking it along with the factory wires. I wanted to zip tie it to other harnesses and run it the exact same way OEM does. As you see, I'm pulling it through. And you can't tell in this part, but I do run the USB that goes to the controller left. It's hard left because I wanted to run it underneath the center console on the driver's side. This is the wiring harness going to the battery. You have your pink wire, which I actually do relocate, and that's your plus and minus. Management system is self-tapping screws. Go ahead and plug it in. And that is a relay that you can just also self-tap screw anywhere you can find a spot in your vehicle. This was tucked behind the plastic. I figured it was a good spot. Here's that pink wire I was talking about. I ended up doing this cigarette lighter that was underneath the glove box. And I used a wire tapper and I put it on the yellow wire because that was actually the positive. And then that's just a 3-amp fuse that goes there. This is the 30-amp fuse. It's the main harness, and you just do negative to negative and positive to positive. I actually did it where one of the main fuses are for the car, so it looks a little bit cleaner.
It's a lot quieter than mine.
As you can see, I started it all up. Compressor's running. It's not connected to suspension yet, but it's all working. That was a big milestone in the suspension install, so I start putting all the plastics back together, making sure everything is tucked. All that's left is to finish the suspension, which Ruben is working while I'm doing this, and running the lines. The tank is going to sit in the back, but not underneath. It's going to be on top of the carpet. He has like 3 or 4 layers of like freaking just carpet mats in the back. Suspension comes out pretty easy. It's just a couple bolts on the top, a couple bolts on the bottom. Once you actually look at it, there's not that much to it. It doesn't require any specialty tools. Now, there is it's called a perch. It's a piece of rubber above the spring right there. You make sure you move that. It doesn't require any special tools at all. All you do is once you move the spring, it's kind of just pressed up there, pull it out, because you will lose it. I guess if you lose it, it doesn't really matter unless you plan on going back to stock suspension. Oh, and remember I told you I was going to route the USB underneath the center console on the driver's side? Well, here it is. We do plan on rerouting that later on somewhere on the dash. Also, the front suspension was quite easy. Just make sure you take off the link to the sway bar. I ran the fitting already on the bag. And then we started installing the bags, which it's the same process. You take them off and put them back. But back to the tank, I'm just trying to make sure everything's tucked and secure. I want to make sure there's no rattles in the car. And I know this isn't a showpiece, so it doesn't look all that good. I do end up rewiring all the lines through the grommet so that no moisture can get in. You see the lines, this is the dump tube, it's the exit so we can air out. It's right there by where the old muffler sat. And then the lines would go through the liners to get to the bags. So everything was super secure and protected. Man, that looks so good. Let's get his reaction.
No way. Get the freak out of here. Where's my phone? I want it just like this. I want it home like this.
Dude, we almost nailed it first try.
No way.
But I think we nailed it. The height.
Like this.
I know I've been walking you through the whole process of this, but the height, we kind of just eyeballed it. I did like 2 3/4 up front and 2 1/2 in the rear of spacing. It was like 5 inches.
I've never seen this.
We still need to take off these mud flaps, and then my biggest concern is obviously going to be the exhaust, because it's the first thing that hangs down.
That's okay.
About to be looking like a hot boy. So this is the next day. Ruben drove it home as it sits. We didn't put like the carpet or anything in the back. The tank was just chilling. So we put the carpet in there and we have to cut it. We have to cut it for the lines, and we'll end up having to drill holes later on as well. We just didn't do it in this video because we have to order a couple more fittings, which I'll explain more later. But I think I cut this thing about perfect. I wanted to cut as little as possible, so I marked it first, and now here I am cutting it. He didn't use his all WeatherTech rubber mat. He decided against it. So he has a Z mat, he has a factory mat underneath it, then he has a rubber, and then below that technically is the plastic cardboard that's already in the car. So it is got a lot of layers, and I think when we do put the hardware on the tank, it will hold the tank plenty enough. And look at it. I told you. It's about perfect, right? Listen to it air out.
So this is what ride height looks like on this car, and we're keeping it kind of low. Sorry about the wind, but we're trying to keep it a little low. But the Z, the proportions, the arches are so high up. So if he rides low, like the exhaust is like that high off the ground, if that. So it just scrubs on everything, as well as the under tray from the engine. Now when he does air out, this thing literally lays frame. Like literally, I can't say literally enough. I wasn't adjusted just where it's hovering over the ground by maybe like a millimeter or two, but he says no, I like the idea, the fact that it's literally laying frame. It's so wild. Go ahead and air out. Look at this thing, guys. It's crazy how I can just transform it. I'm gonna show you, I know we're on gravel, so it's an uneven surface, but I wanna show you the frame. I can say literally again if you want me to, but I'm not. This looks really good. We use bigger lines than we did on the M4, and it goes up and down a lot faster, a lot more responsive, easy to get to the height that you want. It's so good to the point where I'm probably gonna redo all the fittings on my entire M4, which includes probably change up the management system. Again, cannot get enough of it. The fitment, the rear was originally an inch lower. It can go lower, but it just smashes the exhaust. So you can see the exhaust, it's getting pushed up. It's not hovering on the ground, it's getting pushed up. This gap gets tighter when you air out. Some people may not like that as much, the fact that it's on the ground, but you're not hurting anything, so you're not driving at that height. You're only that low when you air out, and you gotta think about it. When you're just airing out, you're just laying down. You're not really rubbing into anything. If you're driving, you'd be scraping it, sanding it down. You're not hurting the car by doing this. Now, would I recommend you to do it? Not necessarily, because it's my opinion. So now he goes up, compressor will kick on, and you can see his height. Go up one more to your curb height. Now when there's a speed bump or something, it goes up even higher. Now you got that huge gap, and then the rear, you have a big old gap as well. The reason why you would really want to do air suspension versus normal coilovers, especially on a car like this, which I think for every car, but you want that low aggressive ride height, right? But if you're driving somewhere like in Oklahoma or anywhere in the United States or anywhere in the world, everyone always says, oh, this state's worse than the other. It's not. Either way, you would want it so you can have a low ride height. If there's a speed bump or rough roads or something, you'd be able to raise it so you get past that. I do have a thing where I like really, really low ride heights. There are car shows that I go to, I won't air out. I air out really low where I can still drive, but I would not recommend driving that way. So in my opinion, air suspension is the best way to go. You can do it with the coilovers, they have adjustable dampening, and overall, I think they ride better than factory. I know for a fact the 370Z is much better. We stiffened it up. It feels like it handles a lot better. You're able to take turns faster. Overall, the driving experience of the car increased. A lot of people, they stay away from air suspension and talk bad about it because once upon a time, you didn't have all the adjustability and it felt like you're floating on a cloud. That has changed. We're in a different world, different technology. Thank you to AirLift for making the management system. Obviously, we don't have very many options out there anymore, as AccuAir, I believe, did go out of business. Correct me if I'm wrong. But, man.
It feel, you know how responsive, like, you know how it was the other time, I could just, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's just like,
Yeah.
first you just felt very,
It was like no body roll.
yeah. So that's what it was. I had a lot of body roll, like really bad.
Yeah, you always said your shocks felt like they were out too in the rear, but they really are. They're just really soft.
It was really bad. I guess I felt like I never liked it.
So not only did you improve the handling in your opinion, you can air out on the peeps.
Yeah.
Air out on the boys.
I ain't trying to flex, but
You're flexing.
that's what I said. That I ain't trying to flex, but I am flexing. I mean, it's worth it. It's worth the weight. It's worth the saving. It'll change your whole car.
You could run a little bit softer. Our dampening, it has 30 adjustment, by the way, Paragon suspension. Get it, but Paragon suspension, you do have dampening, 30 front and back, and we went to 25. He wanted it stiff, it's his preference. But it's also good to have stiff because he is going to be swinging this thing. What I mean by swinging is there's probably going to be doing donuts and trying to learn how to drifting and things like that. So you want to have it stiffer in the rear, sometimes a little bit softer in the front, so maybe soften up the front later on, and so that you have the grip in the front. But man, I think the car drives really nice.
I love it.
It looks amazing. When you take this thing, go left and right, it feels so good. It sucks because I don't know how to show you that in video. It's cool.
It is cool.
And again, I want to quickly show you. So you got the carpet mat and you have the tank. And the tank will be sitting here, but we're going to move it forward about 2 inches or so before we put the hardware in. We just can't move it forward because it's reservoir. We don't have enough fittings. So we're ordering 2 fittings. We'll relocate that right there with the mounts that it came with. And then this will be able to push forward and we'll drill the holes in. But other than that, it's a really clean setup. It doesn't take up all that much space. and it's a massive tank, so he doesn't have to constantly have the compressors going a longer period of time. So real quick, earlier before we did the air suspension, the ride height from factory was 26 3/4. You can tell our max height doesn't even hit that. So our max height is about 26 1/2. So it is a little bit lower than factory, even at max height. The rear max height was actually 27. So you can tell the rear actually goes up a whole inch. So, which is good. The fact that the rear goes up a whole inch is actually a big deal because most of the scraping on this car was actually the rear end. There's not that much room to have an exhaust, and the exhaust aftermarket hangs down really low. We need to maybe fabricate a new exhaust that's more oval shaped and more flush with the vehicle, but that was the part that scraped the most. So here's his new ride height. His new ride height is now 26 inches instead of 26 3/4. So it's not a crazy big difference, but again, this car does sit kind of low and it still looks much better. And now here is his actual really ride height that he doesn't be mainly driving. It's really low to the ground, so he scrapes a lot, but it's 25 1/2. If we were on coilovers, we'd probably be trying to push for like 24 3/4, if not 25 inches height, because that's what would make this car fitment look really good. The problem is you only have 3 3/4 inches off the ground right now. So that's major. You don't have that room. Again, these arches on this car are really wide. Some are different, like the Audi A7. Actually still sits quite high off the ground, even though it's aired out at max. So every car is a little bit different there. But you can see how much better it does look. Now, of course, you guys want to see it aired out. We gotta air it out. Go do it. Go air it out. Now we're at 23 1/4. 23 1/4, and we're hitting frame. So it went from 26 3/4 to 23 1/4. It looks so good. Fitment is amazing. I feel like every car in the front, it will have a little bit where you can't tuck the rim as much. The rear was tucking a little bit more, but sheesh, dude, you don't want to tuck anymore. That thing looks wild. As far as fitment goes, these wheels were super aggressive stock height, and they fit perfect as far as without cutting anything up. If we do anything more, we'll have to cut that bolt and probably roll the fender a little bit. We'll add spacers, make this fitment even tighter. And then the front, it's even crazier, because again, you got all this space, but then right here, it's on the inner fender, and you can feel it. That needs to be rolled really bad. And same as right there. Fitment cannot get any tighter without having to actually do modifications, which is really cool. I know he probably will end up down the road modifying it, because he'll probably go with like a 3-piece more aggressive wheel. Again, that's way down the road. Right now, it's like perfect. All right, so we got 3 bad cars now. Audi A7, M4, and the 370Z. Are you next? I don't know, are you? Are you gonna do it? There's no reason you shouldn't. I got a connection. DM us. I got a connection. This is getting really exciting. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you push that like button, subscribe, and go ahead and share it. Come on, help the channel grow. We are growing this channel. We're at like 600 something subscribers now, which is awesome. Let's get to 1,000 pretty quick. Let's do it. I know we can, but what are you doing? All right, again, my name is Bailey, and I'll see you next time. This ain't fair, dude. You're lower than me.
No.
Not fair.
But I got this front lip coming in too. I don't even know how it's gonna work.
I know, it's gonna look so sick because they make the front look even lower. Plus, we will do custom aero.
That's gonna be sick. We don't know. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm trying to go this week, trying to get some of that stuff.
Oh, ABS?
Yeah.
We need a ton.
Dang, I ain't got no truck.
Yeah.
So we gotta figure that out.
Till next time, guys.